Have you ever listened to a track and said to yourself, this sounds amazing. I wish I could write this kind of music, but where do I even start? Today, I'm going to show you a simple and effective way to learn how to write music in any style. Hi everyone, my name is Noam. About a year ago, I created a series of videos about how to make epic cinematic music. Before those videos, I used a simple spreadsheet tool that I created to understand what principles are common to different tracks in this genre. And that process had a big impact on the way I understand that kind of music. So here's the plan. First, I'll show you how to break down any kind of music using simple analysis tool. Then I'll cover some mistakes people usually do. And finally, I'll guide you step by step on how to use this method so you can start writing in any genre you would like. So here is the tool. It's basically a Google spreadsheet with a bunch of columns. Got track info here, the orchestration information, instrumentation, melody, harmony, percussion, etc. Columns about the harmony, about the melody, space like reverb and that kind of stuff. Range, rhythm, you get the point. What this tool basically does, it helps me to be very active when I'm listening to reference tracks so that I can focus on every specific characteristic of that genre. Let's see it in action. I'm going to analyze a track from Iron Man 3. The part that I want to analyze are around 1 minute 40. Let's listen to it. Yeah, so let's start off with the technical information. Track name is Iron Man 3. Composer Brian, was it Tyler? The part I'm analyzing is, I would call it the climax. It was at 1:42. The key, what key is this in? No idea. I guess the key is G minor. BPM. I don't have Cubase running, so I will open a metronome app on my phone. Bum, 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 bum. Might say around 135, but this is just an approximation. Time signature is 4/4. And now to the more interesting stuff. Under instrumentation, I have a drop down where we can pick the general kinds of instruments that are used in the track. I've got orchestral full, orchestral sections, orchestral solo. When we fill out the other cells, this will make more sense. Non-orchestral, sound design, and world instruments. So there's definitely orchestral stuff there. I'd say there are orchestral sections. There's also some non-orchestral kind of percussion. Let's start off with this and see if we need to add anything later. So the melody is being carried by horns, right? Or low brass, I'd say. And then comes in a choir, kind of a counter melody. What's going on with the harmony? I don't actually hear a very distinct harmony part, but I did hear the strings are together with the brass here in the melody. So the strings. Under percussion, we have kind of taikos. Let's listen to the percussion some more. Actually got this kind of sound design, kind of crunch kind of sound as well. I would call it trailer percussion, very general term, but I do have room here to write in some notes so I can get a little more detailed over there. Bass, I'll just write low strings. Let's see if we're missing any other significant. I hear the high brass here as well. Ba, 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 in the melody. Very big drums. Does give sort of a feeling of harmony coming from the strings. They're actually doing also a little bit of a counter melody with that run. Bum, 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 bum. I hear this. Sounds like a synth to me, actually. Call it synth pad. This spreadsheet is a work in progress. I did try to add in a lot of different kinds of possible instruments, but there's obviously room for improvement. In the notes, as I said, very prominent low percussion hits and percussion sticks. Okay, I could go on and listen to this many times and try to get it even more exact and pinpoint every element, but I would rather now just move on, and I can always go back and while I'm listening to the other stuff, fill in things also in this part of the spreadsheet. On to harmony. So our harmonic progression is so that's G minor going to E flat major going to C major, or let's add in the Roman numerals. 1 to major 6th, and then to a major 4. Very epic sounding progression. Melody. Do I have something to say about the melody? Bum 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 bum. I don't know. I would say a little heavy and march-like. Space. Let's listen to the space we feel that this music is in. The percussion feels like it's in a huge space. More or less every element sounds like it's in a very big space. Everything sounds larger than life, big reverb kind of. Everything sounds like it is in a big space. All right, let's talk about range. I'd say the full sound spectrum is being used. Trumpets in melody go pretty high. Up onto rhythm. The percussion, you've got the big drum on every first beat, the bar. We've got this 3-3-2 feel from, I don't know what to call it, snare / taiko sound. Right, you hear that tot pot pop. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. Cymbal between phrases. Sticks in 16th notes on left side. You hear that chak 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 chak. And then in the second half of that, we have that crunch feeling. We got boom, chuck, boom, chuck. I'd say in the second part, crunch sound on 2 and 4. All right, let's go on to rhythm aspect of these strings. You got this pum 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 string ostinato in 8ths. Pum 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 with ornament. Okay, I think you get the idea. This is the work that I did before creating that video series, and it gave me a lot of clarity and a lot of insights on how epic music is created. We end up with a lot of information about orchestration, harmony, melody, range, all of these very important parts of any kind of music. And after you fill out a whole bunch of these, patterns start to emerge. And that's where the real magic happens. You start to understand what makes this kind of music tick. I did this kind of work for quite a few tracks, and that resulted in whole videos that I created. One about the melody aspect, one about the harmony aspect, one about the rhythm aspect, etc., etc. I'll link to the playlist in the description if you want to go watch that. Now let's talk about some common mistakes when trying to learn how to write music in a new genre. Well, number one is just getting a general feel for the music without going into the details. A lot of people just hear, okay, there's a lot of loud drums and there's strings and choir. All right, I'll put that in and I will end up with the right kind of music. No, you won't. You might have some luck, but you probably will be missing some important nuances. The second kind of mistake people do is they do focus on details, but they only analyze the parts that are easy for them to analyze. And then they might miss out on some other important aspects of the music. That's where using a tool like the one I created really shines because it forces you to go through every aspect of the music. A final mistake people do is being too rigid. This could also happen if you analyze only 1 or 2 tracks and then you think that all music in this genre is built the same way as these 1 or 2 tracks, when in reality you can many times find tracks that are in the same genre but sound pretty different. The challenge is to find out what the overall principles are that make it sound like it is part of that genre and not have a different genre. One thing I have to say that this tool does not do is it doesn't deal with structure. One suggestion I can give is you could use the spreadsheet to analyze the different parts of one track, and that would give you a very interesting insight into how it is built, both in terms of structure and all of the details inside each part of that structure. Now I'll show you step by step how I would use this tool. Step number 1, create a playlist of 4 to 8 tracks in the genre that you are trying to learn. This could be in Spotify, YouTube, wherever. You can even use ChatGPT to give you suggestions, but you should listen to the music and make sure that it does all fall into the category of the music you're trying to create. Step number 2, go ahead and grab the spreadsheet link from the description of this video. Open the link and make a copy of the spreadsheet. This is very important because otherwise you will not be able to edit. Step number 3, listen to the tracks and fill in the blanks. If you're not used to this kind of work, I would not go over 10, maybe 15 minutes at a time because it could feel demotivating for working for longer than that. But if you feel that you can work for a longer time than that, sure, go ahead and do that. Step number 4, look for repeating patterns in the music that you analyzed. Is all of the music in minor? Is it all in major? Do they all have chromatic chords coming in somewhere? Do they use 7th chords with 4 notes? Or maybe the opposite, do you use only triads without an added 7th? Does the melody have a certain characteristic? Are there certain rhythmic elements that show up in every track? This is the most important part of the work. This is where you find out the DNA of the music that you're trying to learn. Step number 5, go and write some music using the insights that you've got using this tool. Now, what is so cool about this process is that beyond learning how to write music in a new genre, you are also training your ears to hear a lot of different nuances and elements that are the building blocks of any style of music. All right, so that's it for today. If you want to dive deeper into epic music, go ahead and check that series of videos that I created. I'll link to it in the description. If you use the tool, please let me know in the comments if you've got any kind of feedback or suggestions about the tool or about anything else related to my channel. Please put that in the comments as well. I read every one of them. And if you've got some cool methods of your own in how to learn a new genre, let us know. I would love to hear that as well. Let's all learn from each other. If you like this video, if you learned something, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. That would help me a lot. Until next time, goodbye.